to another very special episode of Yeah, We Read It. I'm your host, Meggie.
And I'm also your host. My name's Laura.
And today we are joined by two of our friends from Animation Nation, right? Yeah, maybe?
Nation of Animation.
Oh, Meggie, you
Nation
were
of
so
Animation.
close.
So close. All the words were there.
Animation
Yeah.
Nation was taken
Right.
by, I believe, like a Fox block of shows?
But that was Animation Domination is a Fox block of
Oh.
shows. Animation Nation is a very like animation craft based podcast about here's the tools you use and here's what a pen to draw on your tablet for good animation. So yeah,
That's
I'm going
double
to
percent.
kill those
Yeah.
people.
I
I'm
know,
going to
right?
kill them for you.
Well, we are
Thank
gathered,
you. Appreciate
with our
it.
buddies Brooke and Ryan from Nation of Animation. Yeah, we got it. Hell yeah. We are diving into Let It Snow. It is an interesting book.
An anthology?
Yeah,
That,
how do I
that counts
describe
as an
this
anthology, right? It's 3 different
Yeah.
stories.
There
That's
are multiple
okay.
authors. Yeah, it is an anthology. Interesting is a curious word, Maggie. We can drill down on what we mean by interesting.
And obviously this is our John Green season. John Green did not solely write this book. He wrote this with 2 other people, Maureen Johnson and Lauren Myracle.
Felt like he kind of didn't even want to be on the project.
Oh, he does have the shortest story in the book, coming in at a total of 80 something pages. The other one's totaling about 120 each.
Yeah.
So
He's still counting his Catherine's money, and he's like, "I don't need to do this. You guys have fun."
And it's so funny because they featured him first on the book, cover and everything. So they really wanted to hit home that John Green is a part of this project, but John Green did not want to highlight that he was a part of this project.
And essentially, the Let It Snow book, as Laura said, it was an anthology. It is 3 stories interwoven together that kind of take place on Christmas Day, where there's a blizzard happening.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of stuck
It's
in their space.
It's kind of like we get 3 Yeah, We Read It episodes for the price of 1, because we're about to go through each and every one of these stories with our pals Ryan and Brooke.
This book and this episode is at Walmart in the $5 DVD bin. You could get 6 monster movies or 6 slasher movies, and they were all just the drizzling shits. But they did come together, and it's great value.
Yeah.
That is such a good way to put it, where it's you kind of just bought a couple, and you're there's one of these that I might watch again.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, first story is The Jubilee Express by Maureen Johnson. Are either of you familiar with any of her other works? Because I am not.
I had never heard of Maureen Johnson or Lauren Myracle with a Y.
I
before this
had
book.
heard of Maureen Johnson, but I haven't read her stuff. So who knows how it is?
Why did I think Maureen Johnson was connected to Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist? Is that crazy?
She might.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I'm thinking of not that. So I don't know who this is either.
That's
Could be
okay.
anything.
We're all we all learned who she was together, and that's kind of beautiful, just like the miracle of Christmas. So let's dive in, because it's Christmas Eve, y'all, and Jubilee Dougal is telling us all about how she has a stripper name, but she's not a stripper. This is how we're introduced to our first protagonist, and she's dating this guy named Noah, who seems like a try-hard.
Noah Price, yeah. And it seems
One runner of Let It Snow that I'm interested in is 3 different flavors of understated misogyny. 3 different scoops of women. Ugh. 2 of them written by women.
Well, welcome to 2000s YA, baby. This is the recipe.
Her name so many times, and then in the other stories, they even bring up her name so many times. And I thought, it's not that weird of a name. If you told me her name was
an instance
Jubilee.
in a later story where someone says, where she introduced herself and she's I'm Jubilee, and the other person's Jubilee, and she's I'm not a stripper, and it's no one brought that up. Of all the things to bring up from a previous manuscript, from your fellow writer's manuscript, that's the callback you want to do. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Named after a stripper instead of a Santa village, which is what Jubilee is named
Yeah,
after.
yeah, we
Right,
learned
it's easier to explain for sure. It's
learned-
always in season. Strippers are evergreen.
That's honestly, they work hard, they make a lot of money, and it's well earned. What's not to like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should be so honored to be named after a stripper, Jubilee Dougal.
Exactly. But we get hit with that internalized, externalized misogyny two-hit combo right away because she's like, my boyfriend, 16-year-old Noah Price, he's so popular, and he would only date models. He would never date me. But last year on Christmas Eve at his like Christmas smorgasbord, he was like, oh, thank God you ate fish because now we can kiss. Very weird first interaction, but hey, I mean, whatever floats Noah's boat. He's popular.
Yeah, they made out in the garage. Pretty romantic stuff.
Listen, I've done my share of like writing workshops. I've taught classes on writing, and I've had my own work critiqued a lot. It's no fun to just like get in the nitty gritty, like this word's wrong, this word doesn't fit, blah blah. But if I have to see the word smorgasbord again, I'm going to put a nail through my hands.
Like that's honestly on his birthday.
One of the worst words in the English language, and they use it so much.
Yeah, they were using it like it was a safe word for something, honestly.
Yeah, they did.
But we learn, obviously, like Meggie said, that Juby was named after a Floby Santa village, which is a almost like miniature collectibles that make up a village. Mm-hmm. That's right. I kind of see that part. Yeah. Right. And her parents are obsessed with the Floby Santa village, and they have like every piece and shop and little thing combined. Because they have new pieces come out every year, and they're all worth bunches of money. But we very quickly learn on page 6 that her parents have gotten arrested.
Yep, they're a part of something called the Floby 5, which is it ripped from Little Rock 9? Is that what it's supposed to be?
I sure hope not.
Well, no, because I feel like they've used like the location or object and a number in multiple court cases. To be fair, but most of them are very, very heavy cases.
Violent crimes.
Yeah.
People are falsely
political
accused.
dissidents.
We don't know if anybody died during this. This could have been a really, really big crime.
The Floby 5 were essentially arrested because they drove to like the Floby village headquarters to try to get something for their elf hotel Santa collectibles, and then they got arrested because they are rioting in the streets.
Yeah, they like started a riot to get their little Christmas collectibles.
But they made it clear about her parents that they weren't involved in the riot. Sure. They just didn't want to leave.
Cop out. Come on, let her parents get down and dirty.
Her lawyer's telling her this, so I find it hard to believe that the lawyer's not trying to make them look good. Yeah. Honestly,
the lawyer character is so fun because he's like, hey, here's the establishing stakes of the story. Let's get you on the train. It's like, hey, the story is beginning. We need to get you to a new situation. You're leaving your stasis into a liminal period of change and growth. Like stories are.
I 100% thought that this like lawyer character was gonna come back because they spent like a while being like, this is Sam and the type of person he is, and he lives down the street. And I was like, okay. And then he's just gone. He's gone. So listeners, forget about him because he's not important.
Nope.
We never knew Sam.
Jubilee off at the train station because she's got to get to Florida because there's this storm coming.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. There's going to be about 9 inches of snowfall in the south.
Trains can handle anything.
She's going to Florida because her parents are like, you can't spend Christmas alone. And
even
she's
though
like,
they have left her alone the night before to travel to the Floby village place.
Yeah.
They decide too much now. Too much alone.
It's like, and also like, I'm so sorry, the train from Virginia to Florida would have to take like 15 hours still.
No, 2 hours according to the book.
That's wrong.
This book takes place in a world where America got the high-speed rail. Like we actually, a utopia where we funded public transportation and America has a comprehensive rail system.
Yeah, and America where South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia just don't exist.
They've all been just like squeezed.
Just skip them. You're right to Florida. There you go.
Yeah, but she is stuck on this train for 2 hours. Bummer, her iPod died. And it doesn't seem like Noah really cares because it's smorgasbord time. He is booked and busy.
Yeah. Noah sucks. He's just like, he doesn't even ask her like why she's on a train, what's going on. He's like, babe, I got a ham in my hands. You can shut the fuck up.
I'm busy.
Booked and busy. So she's on this train. She meets a hot guy, Jeb. There's like an underlying thread of Jubilee meeting a hot guy and being like, maybe, not maybe. And
yes, you 100% think Jeb is going to be like the third party in the love triangle.
Right?
Yeah. And then it's so funny when he disappears a few pages later. It's like, don't worry, keep reading. This ain't his moment.
Right? Because like we're introduced to Jeb as like he's a smoke show. He's got cheekbones, he's got a ponytail, he's wearing a cool ass jacket. But he's also
him exotic, or maybe she doesn't. No, it's not her. It's his actual girlfriend.
Yes, we'll get back to that.
Yeah, put a pin in that.
We'll make it
we all got words on
Jeb
that.
also has like the sad boy thing going on before that was really a thing of just like, oh, I'm so mopey. It's like an evolution of like the grunge boy of just like a thing that I think has become prominent in the past decade or so.
But he is ripe for the picking because his girlfriend just cheated on him. And he needs to borrow Jubilee's phone to call her, but he can't really get through because now the train is delayed. Seems like they got no service, really.
Yeah. So train's getting delayed. It turns out they hit something. We also were introduced to a 14-person team of cheerleaders.
And that's about all the characterization they get.
Well, their names are Amber and Madison. There you go.
How could I forget?
I would argue that this is a very two-dimensional introduction, but it's one-dimensional. This is the most one-dimensional characterization I've read in a while.
Yeah, it's two-dimensional characters have like height and width. Like these kids are one-dimensional. They are literally just like a tone. It's just like a sound, and that sound is like a cheer, and like that's it.
These are written as if there is just like 14 clones of the same person just running around these trains.
I mean, like Brooke said, they all are either named Amber or was it Madison?
It was Madison and Amber's were the most of them. At least 5 were confirmed to be Madison and Amber. But Jubilee does what anybody does and says, hey, they're cutting the power in the train because this train is stopped and not going anywhere. I'm going to go to the nearby Waffle House that is gleaming off in the distance. And she goes in, the front host person who's also acting as manager, he states, Kyun, he says everything's free tonight. And then we are introduced to a guy that's wrapped in tinfoil.
Yeah, I think we get his name later as Marcus. But you don't get that treat until the 3rd story.
Don't worry about it.
Treat now.
I think that they've earned it, and
I want to unwrap the tinfoil off this man and learn about him. That's my Christmas present.
He's got a tinfoil suit, and I mean, there's not much to him. He just seems quirky.
He's just a kooky, quirky guy. What's not to like?
But he's in every story.
Yeah,
every story.
Yeah.
Later, some guy comes in. He's got wet shopping bags on his feet.
Yeah, he does. Hot.
And
now this is a meet cute.
It really is, because he sits immediately near Jubilee, and he seems pretty normal. He's just braving the cold.
I'll be honest, y'all. When I first was introduced to Stuart, I was picturing like a 30-year-old kind of like dweeby guy, because we're not told he's immediately in high school. And I was like, is this fucking like 30-year-old just like creeping on Jubilee? Because I really thought we were getting set up for her and Jeb to have a romance.
Yes, I thought the same thing. I was like, this 28-year-old man got off from his shift at Target, and he's on his way home to his wife, maybe?
His wife or his mom's couch or something?
I think it's the name Stuart. Honestly, Stuart is so misleading.
Stuart.
Yeah, Maureen, that was a bad choice. We could have done anything better than that.
So she finds Stuart cute, but says immediately that she has a boyfriend, and he's like, I don't really know why you randomly dropped that, but it's okay because I work at Target.
Yeah, and which makes her trust him too easily.
And she says Target, and she specifies that she says it like that.
Yeah. But meanwhile, other train passengers have started to creep into the Waffle House. We've got Jeb frantically trying to use the phone booth. We've got the cheerleaders being cheerleaders, as they do in this book.
They're stretching, they're doing the pyramid, they're like posing on the counter.
And Stuart's like, hey, there's too much commotion going here. How about you come stay with me and my family for Christmas?
And so that's where the plot's going.
That's where the plot's going.
And Jubilee reasonably says, yeah, sounds good.
She does, like, this, like, you would think that there is, like, multiple pages of deliberation and, like, maybe like him easing her or something, but it's like he just like shows her a prom photo and she's like, okay.
Well, it's the prom photo that gets her, but he uses his ID and more importantly his Target card, and he's like, you don't understand how valuable it is that I'm showing you my Target card. Like, Stuart really fucking loves Target.
There is such a weird through line in this book of like brands and like corporate identity being the most comforting thing in the world, because like Waffle House is this like bastion of peace in the wasteland, and then Target is like the indicator of a good person, and then later Starbucks is like,
that's so funny.
We'll say more later, but like it's this weirdest, like, you know what's great? Brands.
Well,
maybe that's all we have as culture in America.
I mean, it reads like a brand sponsorship
Sure,
in a lot of ways, you know?
Let It Snow, brought to you by Staples.
And Target and Starbucks are a partnership.
Yeah, Pizza Hut presents Let It Snow.
Yeah.
But to be fair, capitalism, like Christmas thrives on capitalism. So
that's
I guess
fair. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, honestly, and this time too, because the minute they dropped, like, there was an iPenguin doing a dance to iPod music.
Yes, how could I forget?
The height of capitalism.
Yeah. So where were we? Stuart and Jubilee, they gotta walk. They gotta walk to his house.
They walk through the snow.
They either they have a 5-minute route or like a 45-minute route. And Stuart just kept teasing, like, the shortcuts kind of iffy. And he could explain this so much sooner, but he waits till they're actually there, and walking through the shortcut and says, by the way, we're walking over a creek right now, so the ice could get pretty slick and thin soon.
Yeah, and Stuart not only knows this, he doubles down. He starts poking at Jubilee about how, like, women are only there for men's desires, and Jubilee hits right back by being like, you know what, not all women. We're not all cheerleaders. And
finally someone says it. Yeah, you stick it to those bad girls like cheerleaders.
She's getting so mad because Stuart's like, why do you hate women? And she's like, oh, I'm a feminist. I don't have blonde hair, okay? And then she starts stomping her little feet because she's mad about internalized misogyny. And the ice breaks.
Yeah, so they both fall into the ice.
They wouldn't have fallen in if 2016 feminist movement had happened. I'll say it. If it was 2016, this wouldn't have happened.
It's a truly second wave feminism problem.
Product of its time.
This is the first dimension of feminism that we're seeing here.
They don't go too far underwater. It's like 5 feet deep, but they are soaked. So when they get out, they're freezing, and they get to Stuart's house with ease. But
because they took the shortcut.
They took the shortcut.
Yeah, but she gets a shower. And she gets out of the shower. Someone has given her new clothes and taken hers, which, like, that's creepy. I'll say it.
Oh,
and she mentions it's a glass, like, pane shower specifically.
Yeah.
So whoever came in saw it all.
Yeah, yeah. And then she meets his mom, Debbie, who
I find terrifying.
Oh my god.
Who immediately,
like, too familiar.
Mm-hmm. Very cheery, very pushy in, like, a friendly way, I think is the best way to describe her.
Yeah. So they eat some food that Debbie has made, and Julie learns Stuart is Jewish, but he still celebrates Christmas, and that his dad doesn't live with them. And they also like floby villages. So that's a huge reason why Debbie is, like, so obsessed with Jubilee.
Yeah. But you know, it's pretty normal. They just eat food. She goes to bed. She calls Noah before she goes to bed, and he basically just, like, hangs up the phone the moment she calls again, because that's kind of Noah's thing.
Yeah.
When we first meet him, Noah has the personality of wet bread, of just like, wah, wah. And then every subsequent phone call, like, the bread gets a little moldier. Yeah. And it just, like, just rots over the course of these pages.
Yeah, that's so
like,
true.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's 3 a.m. But also, she's calling from a foreign number. Like, wouldn't you be stressed at 3 a.m.? I'd be like, are you okay?
Not Noah.
She's like, hey, I just fell in a lake and I'm in a stranger's house and the train got here, and he's like, oh, that sucks. I gotta go see Gam Gam. I gotta go talk to Grammy about Christmas. I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah, Noah sucks. But she's woken up the next morning by Rachel, who is Stuart's 5-year-old sister.
Mm-hmm.
And she is written very much as a little sister.
Yep.
She's described as needing a bath maybe like 5 times.
Stinky child.
Debbie
That's so funny.
somehow manages to get through to the jail and gets Jubilee's parents on the phone, and they at least wish her a happy Christmas. I mean, Noah's really dropping the ball, but, you know, her parents wish her a happy Christmas.
And here's one of the most insane scenes in the book after this, because Stuart's off, like, helping a neighbor shovel her driveway, and Debbie starts to tell Jubilee all about Stuart's ex, Chloe, and how he seems to really light up around her. So she hopes that they can work it out.
Horrifying.
They haven't even known each other for 24 hours, and Debbie's trying to pawn off her son to a stranger whose parents have just gotten arrested.
She's like, hey, Jubilee, I know you had a rough day, but I did see you naked, and I think my son would really like you.
Yeah, she's like, please have sex with my son. He needs to stop being such a sad
This is what he's into, let me tell you.
If you need one blanket to cuddle up under, just take one.
Not even subtle about it. She leaves for the movie time, and like she's like, you guys just have fun, you're all alone now. So.
Yeah, hint hint, wink wink, nudge nudge. She's like, let's get Rachel outside so you two can get to know each other more.
It's a degree beyond the Amy Poehler Mean Girls, like, if you're gonna drink, I'd rather you do it in the house. It's like, hey, I think you two should fuck. I think the two of you should get it on.
In fact, I'm gonna leave so you two can just really have this moment together.
Have the whole in the house. Do it in every room. It's a Christmas
in my bed. That's what we need.
They start bonding over having stupid names. Nothing sexier than playing Mousetrap too.
Great game. A great game.
And 2 hours later, Noah calls, and finally Jubilee tells him a little bit of the story, but he's like, I gotta go. I'm so sorry.
Why did he call then?
I would scream.
He called to tell her he was busy. He was like, hey, I'm letting you know I can't talk to you. Goodbye.
It's like those TikToks when they FaceTime and they're like, hey, sorry, I just gotta go. And they're like, you called me.
Yeah, and so Stuart, I don't think we've touched on the fact that Stuart kind of has pick-me energy, because like he's relying on like her entire relationship so much on their shortcut walk to his house earlier in the book, and he's prying even more now about this whole dismissiveness of Noah, and he's like, you want to know what I think, Jubilee? He's gonna dump you. Just like really crossing a line here.
I know. He's like, you should definitely be worried, because this same thing happened with Chloe and me, and Chloe's was really popular, and I was kind of frumpy and ugly like you.
Us frumpy uggos gotta stick together.
Exactly.
And he's also like, if it were my girlfriend, I wouldn't have slept last night. I would have stayed up worried about
I'm different. I'm built different. I'd be there for you.
Like, Stuart's is just as intense as Debbie when you think about it. Like, the fact that he's like, I would never let my girlfriend ride the train to Florida by herself. Like, that's literally like the vibe he's giving off.
I would just walk her over a frozen lake, and whatever happens, happens.
But Stuart is going to shoot his shot because he sees an opening and he's going for it. He's like, you know what? You can call Noah from my bedroom. And she really lays into Noah on the phone.
Yeah, this is somehow enough for her to dump Noah. Like, Stuart tells her once that, like, you know, she should be insecure in their relationship and he's going to dump her.
I mean, thank God she does, because once she brings it up, he was like, oh, yeah, honestly, I'm happy you've been feeling it, because I feel it, too. I think it's for the best, and she's blindsided.
It's the most, like, it's a very believable thing to have one person be like, hey, we need to have an argument. I'm really concerned about our relationship. The other person be like, oh, no, you're right. Yeah, this is not happening. Goodbye.
Yeah. And
no, we agree here. This is over.
Stuart comes in, and he's trying to level with Jubilee a bit. He's like, hey, I get it. You know, Chloe, once again, more Chloe lore. She cheated on me in the bathroom at Starbucks with the school mascot. So, been there, kiddo.
Yeah, and this is enough to really romance Jubilee, because she's going tongue first into Stuart's face.
Yeah,
it's so funny that it works.
Like Stuart really got his Christmas miracle, because he's just manipulated this girl into coming to his house, breaking up with his girlfriend, and hooking up with him.
Here's how you seduce. 1, meet someone in a time of crisis. 2, disparage their current partner. 3, talk about how hung up you are about your own ex.
Get your mom in on it too.
Yeah.
Get your
4,
mom
have a cool mom.
Play some Mousetrap, and you're in.
And don't worry, because Debbie's about to come back around right now. As Jubilee is on top of Stuart, Debbie sees them making out and lets the 5-year-old daughter know, oh, we should probably go. Not really whispering, not really being subtle.
She's like, no, let them have their sexy time, is basically what she says.
Vibes are awkward, and Julie bolts. She's like, I'm not gonna be in this house. This is so weird. And she just kind of starts wandering the neighborhood, trying to find the train.
Yeah, she decides to bail because she's like, well, this is maybe too much. And don't worry, Stuart does what any one of us would do. He follows her tracks so he can confront her about leaving.
He's like, here's my 5-year-old sister's hat, which to me reads the same as like if you meet someone at the bar and you just leave your most precious item that like you probably need back.
It's like leaving collateral at a pawn shop or like with a debtor or a creditor. It'd be like, hey, listen, here's my Rolex.
Stuart, Debbie, and Rachel are giving like hired family of 3. Like they're not actually related. They're just working together.
Yeah, they do great on Family Feud.
But he also convinces her that she should date him now all of a sudden. And she does, somehow this also convinces her to throw her phone away.
Well, that's after Noah calls her. So Noah calls and Stuart's like, listen, don't answer it. And she does. She throws it away.
She's throwing her phone away for someone she's known for not even a day.
Well, it's okay.
Their relationship is based on empty, stupid gestures.
It's only a 2-hour train ride from Virginia to Florida. They can make
this book is based on delusion.
They can do it.
But they kiss, and that's the end of that story.
Yeah, that one ends on a kiss.
All right, now let's debrief here. Let's shout out any lingering thoughts we might have about the Jubilee Express.
Okay, I actually really liked the Jubilee Express.
Honestly, comparatively to everyone else, this one was very fun.
I kind of liked them on the train. I mean, would I go to a stranger's house and then kiss the sun? I don't really think so, but I wasn't brave at 16.
Yeah. The Jubilee Express says the express part is how quickly she dump her boyfriend and start dating someone else.
Because it wasn't really about the train at all, despite being called the Jubilee Express.
I kept waiting for her to be like, oh, and I realized the train had left already. And yeah, it wouldn't have been that long. Like, it would have been fine.
Maureen wrote the latter half of this, and she was like, wait, shit, how do I physically get someone from Virginia to Florida? Like, she had all the, like, workings going on, and then she's like, oh, wait, I gotta write the beginning, and then just, like, pulled it out of a hat.
Yeah.
What's Christmassy? Trains.
Trains.
Train for Christmas. That's something.
Sure, classic. Polar Express.
But dramaturgically, one thing that did bother me, at the beginning, she sets it up, Jubilee, like, this is my story, and it happened a while ago. Like, it's something that happened, like, maybe last Christmas. But then at the end, we don't get that again. It's just like, and we kissed.
Yeah.
So I wanted to come back and be like, and now we're together, and I travel to his little town every week.
And we call it the Jubilee Express.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cute.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of callbacks in this book, but there's not a lot of, full circle moments.
Yeah.
Something that will come up later, though, for eagle-eyed readers. She was reading Northanger Abbey on the train.
Ooh.
And then that's the plot of one of the other little stories.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a good
Look,
catch.
the Austin scholar caught that.
That's Northanger Abbey, not widely read, so why would you do that one? But that's fine.
Well, I can't. Do you know what the plot is to that book?
I do.
Okay.
This will come up, not our next story, but the
Okay.
next one.
We'll put a pin in that.
I can't wait.
Or the patron saint of pigs.
Yes.
This is interesting because we've never had an anthology before. Does everybody feel ready to move on to a Cheer-tastic Christmas?
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's get to Mr. Green's wintry opus.
All right, man of the hour, John Green.
Yeah. The main event in the middle of the book.
Yeah. Our season's finest, John Green. Mm-hmm. He has written a Cheer-tastic Christmas, and just when he thought we couldn't get more cheerleaders, boy, are we getting more cheerleaders!
Oh, a lot.
Because
I want to shout out John Green also for using the R slur, only author of these 3 to do that. That's fun, John.
I think he used it in Looking for Alaska.
I'm pretty sure he used it in Catherine's as well. I think John Green is
3 for 3. 3 for 3, John.
Guys, Catherine's was so bad.
It was really offensive.
I have not read that one. I've read Looking for Alaska and The Fault in Our Stars, but I have not read
honestly. Keep it that way. If you read Abundance of Catherine's, like, your opinion's gonna change a little bit.
I've got a great podcast you can listen to if you want to get all the hits of the Abundance of Catherine's.
Last week's episode, you'd love it because we really dig into it.
We do. But for this one, he's got just one little speed. Well, he's probably got a few speed bumps. No, he's got a lot of speed bumps in a Cheer-tastic Christmas Miracle. But we start this one off in, I think, in Florida as well. We got
It's Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
It doesn't snow in Florida, Meg.
Okay, well, I don't know. They were like all going to Florida, so I couldn't figure out where.
I think they're in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a town in North Carolina.
Lauren Myracle dedicates her section to like Brevard, North Carolina, which I have been to.
Which just makes the time shit in the first story make even less fucking sense to get from Virginia to fucking North Carolina in 2 hours by train.
Yeah. Again, geographically, this book is not strong.
Well, in this little sleepy town, we have JP, the Duke, and Tobin, and they're all watching a movie at, I think, Tobin's house. Someone's house, we don't know. When Tobin's mom calls and she says that Tobin's mom and dad, they're stranded in Boston, so they're not getting home. And Tobin's like, that's fine. I'll get to stay at the Duke's house because he's obsessed with his best friend, the Duke, who's a girl.
Yeah.
The Duke is a girl, and you know she's cool and not like other girls because her nickname is the Duke.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another great John Green girl character, shooting threes, Mr. Green.
Yep, and very much like a character with a fun nickname. That's also very categorically John Green.
We get some quick homophobia on page 2. Duke says it'd be pretty gay of her to be attracted to JP because he has the body of a girl, and as we know, she is missing out. As gays.
But here's where we get a taste of our crossover though, because Kyun from the Waffle House is their buddy, and he's calling to say, hey y'all, there's 14 one-dimensional cheerleaders here.
He's like, hey, I'm the horniest I've ever been in my teenage life. If you want to also have risk an embolism from horniness, get down to the Waffle House.
He's like, I am rock hard in this Waffle House right now.
Yeah.
The Duke's only like motivator, seemingly, is hash browns.
Yeah.
Oh, hail the brand.
Yeah, they're going to brave a snowstorm so that maybe Tobin and JP can flirt with these cheerleaders and the Duke can get her hash browns. That is the motivating factor for this story.
The stipulation is, though Kuhn, their friend, called Mitchell and Bobby, the other people who are working, they agreed that they called their guy friends, and whichever group a guy friend shows up first gets to talk to the no thoughts head empty cheerleaders.
Jesus.
So it's a race. It's a race in 9-inch snow.
The Waffle House workers treating like these cheerleaders like they're their property.
We'll lock them in. You just have to bring Twister.
Yeah, so the rule is they have to bring Twister.
The plot is essentially very close to Mad Max Fury Road in that it's about racing to rescue some fucking women from their like prison.
They had a water shortage,
just much slower.
And they have a Twister shortage in this book.
Yeah, but very quickly they're like, let us change, and they take Tobin's parents' car because they think it'll brave the winter storm.
It immediately doesn't.
It's like a Honda CR-V.
Doesn't. And then they call Kyun and they're like, hey, this isn't a good idea. And he's like, no, dude, it is. And they're like, yep, you're right.
Because the roads aren't salted. They just tried to drive up the hill out of their neighborhood, and they slid all the way back down the hill, which would be terrifying. So
they knocked a wheel off the car.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, that's later? Okay.
Yes.
The response instead is to go 40 miles per hour at the hill and just kind of see if they could clear it.
Their response is to floor it.
Stuff like, we barely missed hitting people's houses. Like,
Yeah, they're acting like this is some like fun adventure that they all get to go on, but it's like this is literally a situation that you can easily die in.
No, but they have to die because Tobin has a thing for cheerleaders, according to the Duke, who points out his last ex, Brittany, was a cheerleader, but Tobin didn't really like Brittany because it seems like Brittany, once again, when you're a cheerleader, you like renounce your brain. According to this book, and that's what it was. He couldn't have a conversation with her.
Yeah, she was too dumb and too pretty is basically what we're told.
That's his problem. Boy, John Green, what a relatable human experience.
But of course, they end up losing control of the car again while they're near downtown. It floors into a snowbank, which immediately essentially traps them in snow from all sides. They end up escaping from the trunk before they can ultimately suffocate.
Maybe if Tobin wasn't thinking the whole time about being like, oh, so many guys are interested in Duke, but she's like not a guy's, like she's not a girl's girl. She's like a guy's girl. And I don't. And
one of his exact lines is, "She was much more of a person than other girls."
Oh my god!
I really
lacquer that line and put it in the Smithsonian.
I decided to treat her as a human being, but not the other ones.
Yeah, but he's having a really hard time treating her as a human being because he learns that she's going to winter formal with Billy, who he thinks is a greasy football player, and Tobin learns this while driving and is like, why didn't you tell me? So there's tension.
He's like, you don't get to friend zone me. I friend zone you. I'm the one who says we're only friends. Don't you dare.
Insecurity? Never. But we are introduced to the Reston twins, who are described as identical twins that look different, which really just means they're fraternal twins. And they find
I am, but
their car.
you really are.
Nice.
They
You're
have
also not the Dukes of Hazzard.
That's true.
They have complete control of their car. And Tobin's like, hey, can you just drive us to the Waffle House? Because you guys are going there too. The Reston twins are like, oh, sorry, we don't have room for 2 dudes and a slut in our car. And then they try to drive away. JP somehow kicks their bumper, and that launches this car into a snowbank.
It like spins them off the road.
JP not skipping leg day. Good Lord, my man.
No, JP is 6,000 feet tall, is what we learned. JP green giant.
JP not only kicks them into the snowbank, a real one. The Duke is like, we need to bury them out or they're gonna die. And JP's like, why? They called you a slut.
That's honestly.
He was a real one. JP was a real one for that.
JP was a real one for that. I mean, later on, he does like sexualize cheerleaders while they're on foot.
Yeah, that's not good.
Win them all, guys.
So they call Kuhn on their way and they're like, listen, sorry, this is just, it's not working. Like the car, it's gone. And the Kuhn is like, well, do you at least have Twister like while you're walking?
Yeah, but before this, we have to mention that the Reston twins do start chasing these 3 because they're so mad about their car. And JP somehow had floss on him and had time to tie a tripwire to stall them.
He was like fiddling with it at the beginning. That's the classic John Green character quirk of like last words or theorems. Or like, this kid fiddles with floss. It was like sometimes when you don't know how to give a person a character, you just give them a physical tick instead, and that seems to make money. So why stop?
And it does stop the twins for a bit, but unfortunately they do have to go and kind of pass them somehow if they're going to get this Twister.
Yeah, so they take the long way to go get Twister.
They do, and they get it. And then finally they're back on their way to Waffle House.
But another obstacle here, because Tobin is starting to get frostbite. So they got to take a quick pit stop.
Yeah.
At the Duke and the Duchess, which is a convenience store where they either call you a Duke or a Duchess. And there was one time that the Duke was very tomboy-y, and that's why, and then they started calling her the Duke at the convenience store. So that's why everybody calls her the Duke now, is because one time she was confused for being a
gender
by a stranger.
Gender, what are you going to do?
Isn't that ironic?
Hey, you know what? Maybe if she doesn't think she's a girl, maybe she's not one. Maybe, but she'll get that in about like 5 years, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, no, we should check back in with the Duke in a few years. I'm sure he's doing very well.
Someone give her a queer theory book.
Tinfoil Guy's there though. We got to call back to Tinfoil Guy.
Yes, he is. He says some cryptic shit. But more importantly, the person behind the counter is like, I can get you a tow car for $150. And like $50 each mile.
Did we think? Okay, let's pause here. Did we think it was weird that the counter girl was also named Rachel and Stuart's sister was also named Rachel?
Oh, well, there's so many cheerleaders with the same name.
Notice it, but
I'm kind of thinking no.
Maybe John Green didn't read the first one that closely. He was like, oh yeah.
He was like, yeah, something about a cashier, something about a Rachel. Yeah, okay, I got this.
He was like, okay, tell me the most notable part of your book, and like, Maureen was like, I wrote this really cool tinfoil guy, and he's like, got it, I'll add that in.
I'll add it in. So they leave the Duke and the Duchess. They're kind of back to walking, and seemingly out of nowhere, like a cop car drives past them, and they just jump in the snow.
Yeah, they do a snow angel pit stop, is what I called it.
It's 2 a.m. I mean, I would, if I was a cop, I'd be like, do you guys maybe need a ride? You're children, and it's 2 a.m. But no, they said a cab, baby, which I do respect them for that. So they're tussling in the snow, and Tobin and the Duke, they're really close to kissing, but JP kind of puts him in his place. He's like, hey, Tobin, I think like you might like her, as Duke is walking a bit in front of them. And JP is like not. He makes another comment about cheerleaders being hot. Duke is pretty mad about this, and she finally blows up. She's getting very mad about JP and Tobin nonstop calling out how hot these other women are, and not her. She hates it. But she's
cool. Like, why don't y'all treat me like a woman? And by that I mean, why don't y'all talk about wanting to fuck me?
Yeah. Why don't you guys ever talk about my boobs? Like, that's like the air of the conversation.
Yeah.
They're finally close to the Waffle House, and then the twins show up again, and then there's like somebody else wheeling a keg, and we get this really chaotic scene where like the twins are chasing JP, and Tobin and the Duke are trying to fend them off, so they slide down the twister like spinner on a snowbank, but then the keg is chasing after them. This entire scene is written really like sloppily.
Yeah, I saw them going down like an exit ramp, and then someone throwing a fucking keg at them, which is unhinged. That would kill you.
These Herculean creatures that can kick a truck and throw a keg. You're a fucking gorilla on the loose? What's going on?
I can't believe
it's
that.
so funny, but they end up getting out of it somehow. Like I honestly, I think I blacked out. I just wrote down like this scene is over.
Like JP gets to the Waffle House door, and then the bad brothers are like, "Damn it, fair is fair. You got us. We'll see you later," and they just turn around and leave.
Which, like, it seems like all of their cars have broken down. Can't you make an exception of, like, they all get to stay in a warm place?
JP looks those guys in the eye and says, "Go freeze to death."
Yeah.
He does. He locks the door until Duke and Tobin can get inside. And then they all kind of realize the cheerleaders aren't talking to anyone.
Yeah, the cheerleaders, like, they're not even talking to Kyun, who, like, made it sound like they were all over him. Like, they're just kind of vibing with themselves. And then they realize, like, oh, wait, we have cheerleaders at our school, and this is also how they act. Like, we're not automatically cool just because we're near a cheerleader.
No, but Tobin does notice that Duke kind of sits near Billy and is, like, talking to him, right? That's the one that's working there.
No, Billy, I think, also came.
There's like Timmy, Tommy, and Billy.
There's too many rando characters in this, but he sees the Duke talking to Billy, so he's gonna go talk to a cheerleader. I think it was one of the Ambers. And they have a 3-sentence conversation. He doesn't really ask her anything about herself, and he goes, "Oh, this is a waste of time."
Well, I tried. Duke goes outside, and Tobin's like, "Whoa, what's up?" She's crying out there.
He's like, "What? The Duke can't cry. She's too cool for that."
So he goes out to check on her, and she has a fucking meltdown. She's like, "What's so interesting about a girl showing her tits and not me, Tobin? Huh?" And after this, that works out. He's like, "You're right. You know what? Those women are tryhards.
You're right. You have tits too." And then they kiss.
You're right. Your body is rocking too, lady.
Yeah.
What was your name? I forgot.
I guess her real name is Angie, is what we learned at some point.
Yeah, but then the story kind of like wraps up. Like they all go home, they sleep. He spends the Christmas with the Duke. They have a sleepover with JP.
JP thinks it's weird that Tobin is kissing Duke because she's like a guy. We get a little bit more homophobia before we leave.
JP, give both your friends a few years. They're gonna have a lot of changes. There's gonna be a lot of conversations. Just let them find it, dude. JP, give them space.
Yeah, and the story ends that the Duke and Tobin sneak away from their little 4-way sleepover to go to the Starbucks, and he tells her that he loves her.
Which is like, let's pump the brakes here. Well, I guess they are best friends, but still, how do we know if they're
typical I mean, to be fair, this was like the most believable love story, unfortunately. Because they've just known each other for a while.
That is true.
All right, y'all. Let's decompress here, because we read a lot in these 80 pages of John Green's A Cheertastic Christmas.
Was it 80 pages that we're at? I was reading it. I had to keep borrowing on my office computer, so I had no idea what the page
this
count
book clocks in at about like 80 something pages. So
this is a cup of coffee.
And so much of this book felt like John Green was struggling to hit a word count. Like he just had to keep adding little things, and he was still the shortest one.
Right. Like, Mr. Green is clearly a professional. I don't mean to like talk smack about his craft or skill, but like y'all were saying, like that sequence on the hill where they're running is the most like out by 5, like this is good enough anyway, like I've ever read.
I just can't get over the Twister as like a sled.
Yeah, like that, like I was really expecting them to say that like the Twister was ruined, and that because it would be. It's a piece of cardboard. But no, the Twister was fine. The Duke gets to be pretty, which is all she wanted, I guess.
Yeah, it's like instead of taking off your glasses, it's like folding back the hoodie.
Yeah, the Duke finally got sexualized.
Wow.
That was good for her.
Yeah, she finally got her wish.
Her Christmas wish, her own Jubilee Express, if you will.
Wow.
Well, and the Jubilee Express will be pulling into the last story,
which is okay. This is the longest story in the book. It's the longest.
You feel every page.
Yeah, it is the longest by like I think like 15, 20 pages, and it
also.
Sorry, go ahead.
It takes place after Christmas. Like, we very quickly hit the 26th. And it's like, what are we fucking doing here anymore?
Yeah.
Well, this isn't Christmas anymore.
Yeah, so not only is it the longest, and as Ryan said, you feel each and every page. It is the least of any substance story. There is no plot to it. There is absolutely no plot.
Like, around now, I was like, you know what book is great? A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I would love to go back and read that, actually.
Throwback. I told Ryan this, but that's our most downloaded episode.
We're still getting like bunch of downloads week by week.
I think
people want to catch up before the movie.
Yeah, you know, we timed that out great, y'all, by releasing that a year before the movie would ever come out.
We did. And for the third story, the third and final one, we move on to The Patron Saint of Pigs by Lauren Myracle.
And hey, it's a miracle I finished this one, am I right?
Waka waka. Listen, that title, metal as hell. That's my favorite Nine Inch Nails album. But then the story...
I was familiar with Lauren Myracle's work, because she wrote the like TTYL chat speak book.
I loved those books. Those were really good. Those were really fun.
She should go back to that
next season.
She really stepped outside of her comfort zone to write a Christmas story.
Honestly, I feel like that should have been my first sign. I would have been petty, because when people send me screenshots, I don't care how many it is between them and a partner. If it's tea, it's tea, and I gotta read it. I love TTYL.
That's so funny. So we remember meeting Jeb in the first book. We remember meeting Jeb at the end of the last story. He actually asked Tobin if he sees Addie to tell her a message because he can't get a hold of her. But this is Jeb's ex's story, Addie. We learned that they broke up a week ago. And she has gotten a new haircut. That is bad. And she has two friends named Dory and Tegan. And we get a really like long-winded story about how her and Jeb started dating. But they've broken up and she's sad, so she's gonna scroll through her iPod photos of them.
Yep. She's just like, hey, I torpedoed my relationship because my boyfriend was boring, and now I'm sad about it.
Yeah.
So the plot of Northanger Abbey is the main girl, she like sort of ruins her own life because she loves Gothic novels and she compares everything to a Gothic novel and she's like, it should be like that. So then in this one, Addie is like, I wish my life were like Jerry Maguire, or it should be more like When Harry Met Sally and all that shit. So that I was like, oh, you bitch. You're just taking Northanger Abbey. How dare you?
That's really funny that like Lauren Myracle is like, yeah, I'll just, you know, do this. I'm just gonna do this.
Close enough.
I like to think that the biggest problem standing in her way is Addie herself, because Jeb, who she defines as boring, also calls exotic for being from a Cherokee reservation, and she's kind of wondering why Jeb doesn't really talk in Southern Baptist, like the South. She's like, I'm white and blonde and a Southern Baptist. Like, why does he feel uncomfortable talking in our predominantly white school and only hang out with someone who likes Star Trek? It's like, yeah, I don't know. Outsiders attract. That's.
I'm just like,
experience.
Addie, I feel like you probably never stopped talking to let this man say a word. I think I've read a number of books. Addie is one of the most unpleasant main characters I've ever encountered.
Yeah, Addie might be one of the worst protagonists we've ever had on this show, and that is saying a lot because, like, we read 14 books of Elena from Vampire Diaries being one of the most self-indulgent people.
Yeah.
And I think Addie might have just beat her because she has just high standards. She's mad that Jeb has a different love language than her.
Yeah.
And they had a fight about they had a fight because she wanted a big romantic gesture. And Jeb was like, I don't know how to do that. So she went and made out with someone else at a party.
Yeah, and
that'll learn him.
She like makes him a playlist for their 6-month anniversary. He gets her nothing, but is like feeds enough coins, like 38 of them, into one of those coin things to get like a heart necklace. And he seems to be from poverty, so that's like $10.
Yeah,
and actually. I did laugh at the bit where her friend told her that. She's like, "That's not that much money." She's like, "That's less than $10." And I was like, "All right, Lauren, you got me there. That's a good joke."
that was actually really funny. I was like, Addie sucks. Wow.
She really does.
Oh, where were we?
So they, as Laura says, they do cheat, and the night before, or not they, Addie cheats, and the night before this, so they're going to this party at Charlie's, and they get into this fight, which is just Addie essentially saying Jeb is not good enough, and why can't he change for love?
She references Shrek here, which is really funny. She says, like, why can't you change? Like in Shrek. And then they explain the plot of Shrek for about a page.
And then Jeb goes, that's actually Shrek 2.
Right. It is a willful misreading of Shrek 2.
Honestly, more YA books should reference Shrek.
Right.
That was my favorite part of this story, was how much they talked about Shrek.
It was really
on
fun.
that page. Because everything else of the story sucks.
And then after she insists that Shrek stays Prince Charming and is a hot human at the end of it, they go to Charlie's party. Addie gets too drunk, and Charlie is like, why don't you come into my brother's bedroom and we can talk? We can talk relationship problems, which is, all a ploy to get a kiss. Yeah. We know this.
Well, and then they make out. But back in real life, Dory and Tegan show up. And Addie is all woe is me because she sent Jeb an email the previous night talking about how she knows she fucked up and she's changed now since last week. She's really, really aware that she has changed now. And she wants to meet him at the Starbucks where it all began in the purple chairs. And we find out that Jeb just responded like, we'll see. And she went there and waited for 2 hours. He didn't show up, so she cut off all of her hair and dyed it pink. And rational.
We've all been there.
I mean, sometimes you do that after breakups. I think that makes a lot of sense.
After you waited for 2 hours and got rejected?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
I would.
Maggie's an Addie.
Addie apologist in the room.
I think that is one of the few reasonable things she does in this story, is being like, well, I've ruined everything. Time to like massacre my hair.
Honestly, that part of Addie is relatable. I can relate.
Yeah, that's it.
But Addie is telling her friends this, and Tegan, her friend, is like, maybe he called. And she's going through Addie's phone log and finds like an unknown number. So she's like, I'm going to call it. And it's a group of these young girls, and they're like, I found this phone in a snowbank, which is from the first book.
That's Jubilee's phone that she threw away for a boy.
And she hangs up and she's like, hey, listen, they found this phone in a snowbank. And Addie's like, can you call back? Can you ask? I heard that someone was kissing. And Tegan calls back and she's like, listen, it wasn't Jeb. This guy he's short hair. But I think Addie doesn't really buy it.
Yeah, but don't worry, y'all, because Dory's gonna cut to the chase. She's gonna accuse Addie of being way too self-involved.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Yeah, she's like, hey, have you really changed like you told Jeb you did? Because I'm gonna be honest, Addie, all you do is talk about yourself. Addie is pissed.
To double down, Dory compares her to Chloe, the girl who cheated on Stuart in the second story, and harsh, but honestly, right to the chase.
Yikes.
I saw it in the movie that, I don't know do you guys watch Yellow Jackets?
Yes.
The girl who plays Van is Dory in the movie, and she's a lesbian.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Except for she's a hard ass. I love it.
But what's gonna happen now is Tegan's gonna really break the tension in the room here, because her teacup pig is coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's a big day because she's gonna name him Gabriel.
The fury I felt over the teacup pig. Like, the irresponsibility of being like, teacup pigs exist, first of all, and then being like, it's so easy to have a pig as a pet. No, it's not. And also, the, like, little that this mattered to the plot in general.
Yeah.
Reading this part, I was like, it was like watching someone tie your shoelaces in a terrible, horrible knot. Because I was like, oh my god, we're gonna have to deal with this pig. Oh my god, we're gonna have to resolve this fucking phone situation. Oh my god, we're gonna have to like make peace with every single friend. Oh my god, I have so much homework to do in this book. Like, there's so much work Lauren Myracle is setting out to be like, we're gonna have to solve all of this. And I'm like, no.
What's also worse is that Tegan hasn't told her parents that she's getting a pig. We find out that like Dory and Addie have fronted the cost for her to get this pig.
Yeah.
And the parents are just gonna change their mind when they see a little piggy show up at their door.
I guess they will, because she's done her research. This one's not gonna be like 700 pounds. I think it's gonna be not that. But again, we don't know, because breeders can just tell you.
We live in a magical fantasy land. Like, yeah, finally, the first ever actual teacup pig.
Yeah.
The fact I can't wait till we get to the part where she puts the teacup pig in a mug. Like, it's like a fucking.
So she says like 10 times, "I need that mug. Where's the mug to put the pig in? Give me the mug."
I'm like, how? Okay, we'll get there. Addie, to prove that she's a good friend, says she will pick up the pig because it's still all snowy.
Mm-hmm.
She'll pick up the pig on the 26th, the day after Christmas, because she's going to work anyway at the Starbucks, and she'll be driving the Explorer, her parents' Explorer. And yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan.
She's gonna do that. She's gonna pick it up. She's got work at 4:30 a.m. at Starbucks.
Yeah, we do get the story of Jeb and Addie breaking up, where we learned that Addie was the one who broke up with Jeb in the first place because she made out with someone at a party. And Jeb, during this conversation, is trying to kind of like, hey, let's really talk about this. And she's like, no, we have to be done because I cheated on you.
And so she's the one who dumps him.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
That's how that goes.
So
but next day, Starbucks, December 26th.
Yep.
At 4:30 a.m. Tobin and Duke come in. They steal the purple chairs that Addie was supposed to meet Jeb on. She is jealous.
She's listening to a Rufus Wainwright cover of Hallelujah, because we gotta have another Shrek reference.
Shrek!
Instead of Leonard Cohen, which that drove me fucking crazy. And she's realizing the song is about love.
Yeah, she misunderstands the lyrics, right?
Yes, she's like, I thought it was a like praise worship
like a faith song.
That's so God. She's so not smart. But we get the morning rush. Tinfoil guy comes in, and another like regular named Maisie comes in, and these are back-to-back instances of two people just going, "Hey, Addie, you're too self-involved." These are adults just calling out a freaking high schooler, being like, "Hey, Addie, you're kind of a bitch."
Yeah, they do indeed.
And Maisie's like, "I'm gonna be your angel," and Addie's like, "What? What does that mean?"
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, please leave me alone.
She keeps
I'm working.
insisting though. She's like, "I'm your Christmas angel." Duke and Tobin, they also stroll in for like coffee, and there's that crossover as well.
No, but now Addie's gonna go on her break, and but before she does that, she has to rinse off one of their pourers. Ends up getting the sink overflowed, and her manager Christina is mad at Addie for some reason that this like a pipe burst, even though that's not Addie's fault. 3 Johns come and help them, but Addie's allowed to go pick up the teacup pig, so she calls Dory. Dory's annoyed with her because she still hasn't gotten the pig, and Addie's like, I'm getting it right now. So we go to the pet world, and there's this guy named Nathan who hates Addie.
Yeah. At first, it was because it was Jeb's best friend, but that wasn't what it was.
Before we even get to the pet store, there's the bit where she's like working at Starbucks. She's like, I need to take my break to go get the pig. And then several pages pass of her not doing that. And the whole time I'm just like I know like it's meant to be tension. It's meant to be like, oh no, she forgot. But the whole time I'm not like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, go get the pig. What are you fucking doing? Go get the fucking pig.
We needed the plot to move forward, and it doesn't. But
no.
Finally, she's there to pick up the pig. Nathan is actually, and you think he's mad because he's Jeb's best friend, but no, he's just mad because he asked her on a note to a dance 4 years ago, and she just didn't get the note and didn't respond to him.
And Nathan turned me into an Addie apologist for like 1 page. I thought, that's not her fault. Who cares?
Boys and girls cannot coexist unless it's romantic. I don't know what to tell you.
I was about to start liking Addie if she didn't immediately go back to sucking after that exchange. Because she knocks over an entire display and like half-ass helps Nathan clear it up, we find out that Nathan has accidentally sold the pig that was already paid for to somebody else.
For $200. So, I mean, honestly, Nathan got a little off the top.
Yeah.
How can we hate him?
Right? But Addie somehow convinces him to give her the invoice. But don't worry, because when she leaves, she's got 3 phone calls. One is Christina saying, "Where the fuck are you? You're late from your break." Another is her dad saying he's come by to take the car that was in the parking lot. And the third is from Tegan thanking her for picking up her pig. So she does what any of us would do and calls the person that she cheated on her boyfriend with to help her out in her time of need.
I would think, hey, Nathan's probably gonna see me get into his car at Pet World and then tell Jeb. But that doesn't cross her mind.
No. Charlie shows up and he brings a phone book like she asked, and he's like, "Hey, now that we made out in my brother's room at my party, let's really iron out what we're doing here because we're about to fall in love." And she's like, "No."
And he's like, "I have a sizable penis."
And she's like, "I don't care. I love my exotic boyfriend."
Oh my
basically,
god.
that's basically what she says. But they find the address of the person on the invoice. They find out it's like
100 feet.
Yeah, it's like 100 feet away. It's very close.
It's so close.
So very anticlimactic. They get there immediately.
Yeah, they get to the woman's address. She knocks on the door, and it turns out that it's Maisie, the woman who said she was her angel.
And
I was so mad. I was like boiling mad. I was like, if I were Addie, I would have been like, I'm gonna kill you if you don't give me that pig. Why did you do this?
And don't worry, it's because Maisie, the elderly woman, was deciding to test a 16-year-old girl.
She's like,
which in a way, very biblically accurate of what angels do. It's like, hey, I will test your faith. Like, Addie, go up on Mount Moriah and slaughter the child.
But Maisie is like, look, this has like fixed you, made you not think about yourself so much. Mm-hmm. No, it didn't. Like, all she had to do was find the pig. Like, anxiety.
Yeah, no, we're supposed to believe that Addie's been like fully changed because of this, and she like walks into the Starbucks with a new attitude, but it's like, she's gonna wake up tomorrow and be the same old Addie.
No, but she won't, because she realizes Maisie lives alone, and Maisie's feeling bad for her, and Addie is like, hey, Maisie, I'll be your friend. I'll come over and we can make tea. Since you're so lonely, I'll start visiting you. And that's really all Maisie wanted. She's not an angel. She's just a perfect manipulator.
Just lonely. Maisie, I'm going to tell you right now, Addie's never going to come and hang out.
But she promises.
You're never going to see her again.
No.
She promises. We'll see.
But she walks the teacup back over to the Starbucks because conveniently this house is behind the Starbucks.
Yeah.
So she's just going to walk in. There's no cage for this pig either, so she's just like
in a coat pocket or something.
Yeah. So she walks into the Starbucks, and we have a big crossover moment. Because Dory and Tegan have shown up, and they're like, "Where's the pig?" And Christina's like, "Is there a pig in my store?" And Drew, the Duke, and Tobin are like, "Hey, we have to tell you something, Jeb. You said Jeb. We gotta tell you what Jeb told us at the Waffle House. They said he's coming." And then Jeb shows up.
Yeah.
They don't have a conversation. They just like kiss and they're fine.
Yep. After that, Jeb just hugs her. He comes through and he's like, "I'm sorry. It's been insane."
He apologizes
at Waffle House. And, Addie's like, I want you. And he's like, "No, I want you." And then they kiss.
Turns out Jeb was the biggest Addie apologist of all.
Yeah.
And don't worry, Stuart and Jubilee were there too to get a cup of coffee.
Also, Tobin doing the classic idiot thing of not knowing how to order at Starbucks. It's on the sign, dumbass.
Is this the place with the weird ordering system? Can't I just get a large?
I wanted
like 15-year-old boomer.
I chose to block that out of my memory because it was just so cringy. It was just so awful.
Oh my god.
The whole ending of like, and you're here, and you're here, and you're here is like it feels like chipping a tooth, which I know because I chipped a tooth while reading this book, like during the time I was reading it, and I preferred the actual physical feeling to the ending.
Oh my god. Yeah, I know, seriously.
God, that's so funny. Yeah, this third one was rough to get through.
I am kind of curious how they did it in a movie sequence, and I actually do think I would watch this as a movie, to be honest. There's not many Christmas ones. Christmas is the time when you can get away with shitty content.
Yeah, sure. This book reads more action-based than like story plot-based, so I think it would actually work decently well as a movie.
Yeah.
It's like it's like 3 journeys. It's like, you know, the first one, Jubilee like treks through the snow and she's at the house with the boy. And the second one, Mr. Green's cheerleader, Cheertastic Christmas as it's called,
Sure.
is literally like a road story of like, we gotta get to the Waffle House. And then this one is like this little odyssey of like, can Addie's odyssey of like going through this journey and these trials to quote unquote be a better person, which we know is bullshit. So like I get like it, I think it would probably play better on screen.
Yeah, I think I would have liked the third one more if Jeb had come to just like fully be like, we need to move on. I feel like this book needed like a Christmas heartache, you know?
Yeah.
Or like just like hey, like you did a bad thing. Like be better. Like Jeb, like, hey, it's cool, like things happen, I'll be your friend. But like, no, we're not getting back together. I hope you have a good life. And she's like, I understand. I have actually grown and shown any maturity. Thank you for being nicer than I deserved. Goodbye.
Yeah, because how would we know that she's grown unless she doesn't get what she wants? Because I feel like if he was like, no, she'd stomp her feet and be like, well,
but I did everything
Can't you see? I'm so much better now.
Yeah.
I picked up the stupid pig. That's what she did.
She spikes the pig down on the ground.
Oh yeah, and this is also the part where they actually put the teacup pig in a mug. And it's like, teacup pigs aren't that small. Like, they're small, but not like mug size.
I'm sorry, if I was a breeder at the like height of Uptown Girls, why would I not just sell baby pigs as teacup pigs?
People do that.
That's the thing. That's what they do.
That's what people do.
One time I was really mad at my ex-boyfriend who cheated on me, so I put his phone number on Craigslist and said he was selling a teacup pig in Manhattan, and he had to shut down his phone. I had to bring that up. I forgot about that, and then I was like,
that is fucking incredible.
It's more interesting and engaging than any of these stories, really.
Yeah, that was that. I want that to be the third story. That's hilarious.
Discontinue his number. It was incredible.
Wow, what a time to be alive.
They didn't need to come back. Like, truly, I did not need. I think the worst parts of this book are the connective tissue where it's like, oh, do you remember Jeb? Oh, do you remember Tobin? And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's a short book. Yeah, I remember.
The only through line I wanted was Tinfoil Guy.
Yeah.
Because like he's so unimportant, and if he's the character that pops up for some weird fucking reason, I'd be okay with that.
Why wouldn't someone?
Okay, yeah.
Someone should have done a Scrooge storyline with him.
Well,
I would have loved that.
He was pretty nice.
Like Addie is the Scrooge. Addie's the one who like needs to get her behavior changed on the day after Christmas.
I kind of love the idea of him getting visited by all the ghosts. Being a little Scrooge.
Like, what was his deal? Like, all was like, oh yeah, the weird guy.
But then he comes to tell Addie off for a second to be like, "You're the one person I don't like, you little bitch." Like,
Unfortunately, since the Tinfoil Guy was written by 3 different authors with no awareness of what the other person had written, he is the most 3-dimensional character we've gotten in this book.
It's because we did get different perspectives on him. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's kind of how that played out. So.
In lieu of, usually we do a top 5, but I was kind of curious since this is an anthology and we've never really done that before. What was your guys' favorite to least favorite story?
I think we may all have the same order, but it's just because it's the correct one. And it's the order of the stories.
Yeah, no,
it's strongest on Jubilee Express. Cheertastic Christmas Miracle. I didn't love it, but
I think John Green himself would admit that it's not his finest work.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
And then I think the absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah. It's interesting that a book like this just kind of got worse as it went. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, okay, Jubilee Express. This is like Christmas YA. It's fine. It's better than Dash and Lily's Christmas book that we read. Oh, that was also horrible. But yeah, this just kind of like went from like, oh, this is cute, okay, to being like, this is a little iffy, to being like, why the fuck am I here?
It was like first of all, I was like, oh, thank God the other 2. I bet the other 2 are better than this. And then John Green was like, oh no, I didn't care for that. I'm sure they're gonna end strong. And then the horror of realizing that the first story is the strongest when you're midway through the third. Yeah. Like, I had no idea. That was as good as it was gonna get. I should have appreciated it more when I had the chance.
They really said, let it snow, baby. Let it snow in the worst way possible.
It was a lot.
Okay, should we all divulge our canceled character?
God, where do I begin? Yeah, let me see this
You
book.
want to see the book?
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a lot of options here. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Addie. I feel like she was awful. She showed no growth. Kind of felt like she was fetishizing her boyfriend. Doesn't really care about her friends. Is more upset that people think she's self-involved than actually changing. So that'll be my pitch. I'm interested to hear the other contenders.
I think it would have to be Addie as well. You know, if I wanted to throw an absolute curveball and be like,
You can.
Chloe for cheating on Stuart, but I don't know her. She had her own reasons.
Yeah, Stuart's kind of intense. I mean, maybe he was rightfully earned.
Maybe she wanted a way out. But cheating on Jeb, who doesn't really say much because why didn't they flesh him out? I think I'll go with Addie as well.
Yeah.
I also do agree with Addie, but I'll still throw a curveball in there and say, from the same story, Maisie. I really liked Maggie's reading that Maisie is a master manipulator who just wanted Addie to promise to come to her house every once in a while.
I'm telling
and
you.
then to call herself an angel when she's doing not angelic things.
Like,
so Maisie's my wild card.
Nice. I love it.
Can I cancel Penguin Group for publishing this book and making this happen?
Yes, absolutely.
You can. And
if not them, if it has to be textual, I will cancel Stuart's mom because Addie is a teenager. Her brain's not fully functional. Stuart's mom, an adult woman. An adult woman trying to engineer a love connection for her.
She has no husband.
Okay.
She needs to. So she needs to.
Yeah. She arranged a hookup for him, and he left. Yeah, she couldn't help it.
And y'all, since this was such a book of 3 holiday romances, I think it's only right that we have 3 canceled characters.
I think so.
And Addie, Maisie, and Debbie, our holy trinity of dumpster-fired characters.
The big 3.
The big 3. And then
I also want to point out,
and the Debbie.
No one from John Green's story got canceled, so he stays winning, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, somehow, he wrote like the most sexist story, but not the most offensive characters.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know, it's a complex thing, this writing business.
He was really like towing the line of getting there.
John Green?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did also, he sprinkled in a touch of racism in his book as well, but not nearly as much as Abundance of Catherine's, which is
I guess a win. In our John Green season.
Not really.
He's I don't know if we could say he's kind of redeemed himself from Abundance of Catherine's after this.
I really don't think there's any going back.
Next week will be Paper Towns. Maybe that'll be a little different.
We'll see what is to come.
Well, does anybody else have any closing thoughts? I think we discussed a lot of things today.
We talked about the snow book on the cusp of summer a lot.
So it did snow yesterday.
Yeah, there was a brief flurry in Chicago. So
gross.
Dang, we should have recorded yesterday. That would have been
in April.
That would have been more practical. But I guess we'll wrap up the episode then. Ryan, Brooke, thank you so much once again coming on this podcast. We love having you both on. And thank you for once again trudging through a not great book for our podcast.
Quick read. It went fast.
That is a really redeeming quality of it.
It wasn't 600 pages, so
it was not 600 pages.
Can you tell us where we can find you all?
You can find us at Nation of Animation on all your podcast listening platforms of choice. You can find us on Twitter at Cartoon Book Club or on Instagram at Cartoon Book Club as well. You can send us an email if you want to be really personal at cartoonbookclubpod@gmail.com. Am I missing anything?
Nope, that's us.
That's it. That's us.
All right. Now it's going to be our turn, Meg. Let's do this.
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram at Meggie_and_Laura, Twitter and TikTok at YaWeReddit. And hey, we also love a good email. It is the pigeon carrier of the modern age at MeggieandLauraPresent@gmail.com.
And dare our listeners to email both of us at the same time. Start a group thread. That'd be awesome.
Oh my God.
Just talk to all of us. Yeah.
All of us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Let It Snow. We'd love to hear what your 3 favorite stories were. Yeah. We'd love to hear who you would have canceled instead of our holy trinity of canceled characters.
Yeah.
But that's going to be it for this episode of Yeah, We Read It. We will be back next week with another guest for another dive deep into the world of John Green with Paper Towns.
Yeah.
And we will see you all then. Thank you so much for listening.